Welcome to First Downs, Fourth Downs, and Touchdowns today. I know it's been a while, but I can explain. I've just been busy with life. That's it. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. What we're here to talk about today is we're going to be grading every single SEC West team's performance in 2022 to 2023. It'll be on an A to F scale, almost like school. Now you may be asking, why did you wait this long? People were doing this in January. People were doing this in December. Well, two reasons. One, like I said before, I've been busy. And two, not only do I feel like you should grade on the performance of the season, but the recruiting cycle afterwards. So, hypothetically speaking, because obviously this wouldn't happen because this isn't the balance in college football. Since Georgia went like 14-0, I think, I'm gonna sound really stupid if I miscounted that. But since they won the national championship, yeah, it'd be great. But if you had the 100th recruiting ranking in the 2023 class, what does that say? So, in my opinion, the next recruiting cycle is like a little bit of a treat, of a reward, per se, for your season performance, and it shows your future, which, in my opinion, is part of how your team did. So I will be including the 2023 and 2024 recruiting rankings, but it won't be a major part of the final grading, but it is partially part of it. But now we'll start off with Mississippi State. Now I want to say rest in peace to Mike Leach. I know I wasn't able to say it before, but my condolences to all Mississippi State fans. However, on to the topic, they went 9-4 in the regular season with 4-4 in conference play. Some key games included their Alabama loss 30-6, their Kentucky loss 17-27, and their Ole Miss win 24-22. Now, for Alabama, I think they could have done better. I feel like they should have done better because they were doing, last time I checked, pretty good in that part of the season. But I'm pretty sure last time I checked, Alabama just came off their loss to Tennessee. So I just feel like it was just poor timing with Mississippi State. I feel bad. I think it was just unlucky y'all had to play Alabama at that time. Then we had Kentucky. If Mississippi State had the momentum to win this game, I expected them to win this game, and I was shocked when they didn't. I feel like this is a big letdown on the Mississippi State part of their team. I feel like that win could have furthered more momentum. I just feel like, I don't know what misclicked in that game. And then finally, their Ole Miss win. Mike Leach's first win against Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl in his first 3 seasons, and unfortunately, his last game. But at least it went out with a win. I predicted them in the preseason to go 8-4. So, I think I was pretty much right because, they did go 9-4, but that's because you include the bowl. So I think I was pretty spot on with Mississippi State. But their offensive points per game this season were 29.6, 47th in Division I. But their defensive points per game allowed was 24.4, 43rd. So they're around in the 40 range. They definitely have some room for improvement, but they were definitely not the worst in Division I. And the recruiting ranking for 2023 is 26, while currently for 2024, last time this is updated, they have no commits. My final grading for them is going to be a B-. It could have been A, because they had a great way to end the regular season, but I feel like that loss against Kentucky and I feel there's a few more blown opportunities than needed to, so that's why I didn't give them an A. Now, speaking of the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss. They went 8-5 on the regular season, 4-4 in conference play. I think the only difference record-wise between these two teams is that Mississippi State won their bowl game. These two teams were pretty neck and neck the entire year. As you can tell by the score of the game, it was very close. But some key games this season was a disastrous loss to LSU, 20-45. Really just hit them. I think that's when it really started to go down. And Alabama lost 24-30, and the Mississippi State loss, of course, 22-24. Now, the few years I've been watching college football, like, definitively, like, focusing, I've noticed that Ole Miss starts out well, and then they just can't get over the hump. I feel like that's been the trend with Ole Miss lately. And I feel like that is what really hit them this year as well. I mean, I don't know what's not clicking there. I predicted them to go 8-4, so I think I was spot on but of course, the bowl game, I can't predict the bowl game. But let's go to stats. Offensive points per game, 31.3, 35th in Division 1. But their defensive points per game were 27.4, 63rd. So you can see a little bit of a drop-off on defense. The recruiting ranking for 2023 and 2024 are very close, high 20s. 2023 is 28th, while 2024 class is 29th. So they're not doing the best in recruiting. They're not where they want to be, but they're not doing too shabby. The final grading I gave them this year was a B. They just couldn't get over the hump. But, they had new players coming this year. Give them time to develop. Next year should be a good season. Guess we'll see. Now, this might be... how do I put this? I'm just going to say it bluntly. My most wrong prediction. And I'll admit it. I'm going to admit I was dead wrong about this team. Preseason, I predicted them to go 4-8. I said Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers were not going to do anything this year. I said the rest of the division, rest of the conference was too tough for his first year. I was wrong. I will admit, hands in the air, I was wrong. They went 10-4, 6-2 in the SEC play. They made it to the SEC championship and smacked Purdue 63-7. That was a statement game right there after the loss to Georgia in the SEC championship that they're still a dangerous team. Some key games other than Purdue were the Florida State loss 23-24, the Texas A&M lost 23-38, and the Alabama win 32-31. Of course, we know why the Alabama win was important. It put them in the front in the SEC West, and it was you don't beat Alabama every single day. So, it was a pretty huge win. Now, the reason I put Texas A&M and Florida State on their losses were just because of blown opportunity. Now, Florida State, I understand, it was the first game of the year, and they proved that they were good in the rest of the season. But Texas A&M, man, I feel I don't think they could have made it to the college football playoff if they lost to Georgia still, but man, that just didn't help them right there. That was just a complete breakdown on offense and defense. So Texas A&M got the better of them. They won 38-23 against LSU. That was a sad game because I was completely from no faith in LSU to I was on the hype train. I was like, LSU is good, they're gonna do it, but then they just collapsed that game. But Brian Kelly, their 2023 recruiting class is 6th in the nation, and their 2024 class is 3rd in the nation. So, they have a bright future coming with Brian Kelly. My final grading for them, now this may not be proportioned to others, but this is because they blew me out of the water, is an A+. First-year head coach to arguably one of the toughest divisions of college football, if not the toughest, depending on what you want. We're not going to dive into that. They upset Alabama, who has been on top for practically a decade. They go 10-4. They make the conference championship game and blow out their bowl game competitor. Could have been a college football playoff contender. What more can you say? That's impressive right there. Now let's see if they can build on that next year. If they can, LSU is going to be a dangerous team. That's all I'm going to say. Next team, not as impressive this year. Just going to say it. Auburn. They went 5-7 on the year. 2-6 in SEC play. Did not make a bowl game. Some key games were the Texas A&M W, 13-10. Their Penn State loss, 12-41. And the Missouri W, 17-14. I predicted them to go 4-8, and I was pretty close. They went 5-7. I think I predicted them to lose against Texas A&M, and they got me there. But I mean, Auburn, I kind of felt like it was coming. Brian Harsin was going to be fired. I'm pretty sure Coach Cadillac did good for what he was there. But obviously he's not. Hugh Freeze has the job now, but. I mean, if I was an Auburn fan, I'd be appreciative of what he did for his few games there. He rallied them together, got like 1 or 2 wins. So props to them. This was a collapse of a year. I think they knew it. I think they saw the end with Brian Harsin. But now they have new hopes with Hugh Freeze. We'll see how it goes. The recruiting ranking for the 2023 class, surprisingly, in my opinion, is 17th in the nation, while 2024 is 20th. Now, despite these, I'm still going to have to give the year an F, because complete collapse. There's not much could be done, despite the fact they even knew a collapse is probably coming. That being said, it was just definitely a disappointing year for Auburn fans. Now onto another team, Arkansas. They went 7-6 on the regular season, 3-5 in SEC conference play. Some key games were the Ole Miss win 42-27, the Liberty loss 19-21, and the Alabama loss 26-49. I had my faith in Arkansas at the beginning of the year. I thought they would come in, I believe, second in the SEC West, 10-2. I thought it was this year. You had Rocket Sanders, you had KJ Jefferson. I mean, you had a great team. That being said, the Alabama loss, I think, really got to them. They had a chance. I remember watching like the first quarter, and I was like, oh man. Oh well, Alabama does it again, and then they come back, and then at the end of the game, Alabama just pull away with it. And I think that really crushed Arkansas's morale there. But I mean, that Liberty loss really hurts to you too, because I mean, you don't want to lose to Liberty. No offense to Liberty, but if you're in the SEC West, a team like Arkansas, that's not something you want to be doing. Definitely a blown game right there. So yes, I predicted them to go 10-2. I'll admit I was wrong. But hopefully, I like Arkansas, so I hope they do good next year. Now, down to some stats. Offensive points per game was 32.1, 30th in the country, and their defensive points per game allowed was 30.9, which was 101st. As you can see, their defense definitely let up, because I mean they lost 49 points on Alabama. They allowed Ole Miss to put up 27 even in their W. Let Liberty put up 21 points. I mean, their defense, I think, held them back for a good bit this year. That being said, the recruiting rankings are, I'd say pretty good for 2023. They're 22nd in the nation, but 2024 they're currently 40th. So, I would want this year. I feel like this year was the year they were going to do something, and next year they're going to need to make a statement. Showing they're still Arkansas. They can still win good games. I think they just need to rebuild talent and figure out whatever went wrong this year and fix it. So the final grading I'm going to give them is a C. They did pretty good. They did good. I mean, 7-6, that's not too bad, especially SEC West, SEC in general. But there were so many things they could have improved on, I can't put them any higher. Just being kind of generous, in my opinion. Now, the one a few of you might have been waiting for, Texas A&M. What can I say? Well, I'm just gonna get off my chest. I'm gonna say it now. As a South Carolina fan, knowing that we beat Texas A&M for the first time, I think ever, not just when we had to play them every single year when they joined the SEC, but ever, that was amazing. I mean, that 100-yard kickoff return to start the game, that was just one that we just had it that night. I don't know how else to put it. We had it that night. But now that that's over, they went 5-7 in regular season, and 2-6 in conference play. did not make a bowl game. Now, some key games before I get to preseason predictions were the Appalachian State loss 14-17, South Carolina loss 24-30, and their LSU W 38-23. I predicted them to go 9-3. I expected Arkansas would take the lead over Texas A&M despite their, I'm pretty sure, the best recruiting class ever in history. Despite that, though, we saw what happened this year. It was the coaching, the culture, and the locker room. Whatever caused the collapse, it collapsed big time. Jimbo Fisher definitely is probably sweating a little right now. I definitely would be. So next year, I expect them to make a statement because, there's pressure on that team. When you have the best recruiting class in history, you go 5-7, don't even make a bowl game. Next year, they better start proving something, or there might be some changes in the coaching staff. That's all I'll say. But the stats, offensive points per game was 22 exactly, which was 97th in the country. But defensive points per game allowed was 23.1, which was 33rd. So their defense definitely kind of held it down a little bit more than their offense. Their offense was struggling this year for sure. But despite this collapse this year, they still have a good recruiting ranking. They are 15th currently in recruiting rankings for the 2023 and 2024 class. Found that kind of coincidental. Now, the only thing that's keeping me arguably from an F was, that LSU W really showed 38-23, which is they pulled away with it. It became a domination over LSU. It showed the potential that team had when everything was firing on all cylinders. So that's one reason why I didn't put them at F. But they're definitely D-. They disappointed me this year. I think they disappointed most fans. They were predicted to potentially go college football playoff, predicted in the top 10. Some people had them in the top 5. It was just one of the hugest letdowns, in my opinion, for any team in college football in the past maybe 10, 20 years, possibly more. Now, last but definitely not least is Alabama. They went 11-2, 6-2 in SEC conference play. Some key games were the Tennessee loss 49-52. That was a huge upset. I think I've seen videos where it was I believe the video was at Florida, the Florida home stadium, and they're at a home game, and they learned, like the announcer said, Alabama lost, and everybody goes crazy. They just lose their minds over the fact that Alabama finally lost. It just shows when you topple somebody like Alabama, you have something good, and you're a good team. And they did. They pulled off the win, and then Alabama loses again to LSU. That's how LSU took over the SEC West, went to the SEC Championship. They lost 31-32. I'd like to say props to Brian Harsin on that one. I would agree. I would have gone for the 2 points because I feel like if he didn't end it there, Alabama would have pulled away because that's just something Alabama does. So I think it was a smart decision by him, and it paid off. And their Kansas State win 45-20. At the end of the season, people were like, yeah, Alabama still finished 10-2, right? Look at what Kansas State just did to TCU. They just won. Kansas State could do something, but no. Alabama proved that they are still Alabama despite the little bit of flukes this year. Despite their shaky pass defense, just their disconnection on offense sometimes, definitely after turnovers, they just couldn't get ready. I predicted them to go 12-0, and I was wrong. So, props to Alabama. Y'all had a great season, but definitely by Alabama fan standards, they probably did terrible. But, most fans would be drooling over that record. But, Alabama, let's see what Nick Saban does. He's arguably the greatest coach of all time in college football for a reason. Let's see what he can do next year. But offensive points per game this season, 41.7. They were third in the country. Defensive points per game allowed, 19.7, 12th. These are some pretty impressive stats, especially offensively, which, when you look at it, they're They lost to Tennessee, which I think had the best offensive points per game in the country, and then LSU, who definitely was not bad by any standard. So it just shows the amount of the level of competition they're losing to. And they don't lose to this every single day. This is a rarity for Alabama. It just shows how good Alabama is. Now, their ranking for the 2023 class is first, and their 2024 class is 9th. So, despite the recruitings, and everything, I'm going to have to give them an A to A minus. Because, yes, they finished 11-2. But, when you just look at that compared to Alabama, how Alabama should be. Because, in 2021, they lost in the national championship. And everybody was like, this is just a down year, and we still made it to the national championship. We're going to come back next year, reloaded, rebuilded. Heisman winner Bryce Young's going to come back, and we are going to win. And then they just went down a little further. So, 1 year was just an occurrence. 2 years in a row is just a coincidence. But if it occurs in a third year in a row, it starts making you think, is there a downward trend? Now, that's just a big assumption. We're not even in spring practice yet. But I'm just saying, keep it in your mind if this happens. It's becoming a trend that they're just slowly but surely going down. But I still think Alabama is Alabama. I have faith in them. But I'm just saying, keep it in your minds. So, yeah, the final grading for Alabama is an A. Now, the teams that I want to look out for on the next year, like I said, previously just stated, Alabama, LSU. Let's see if they can repeat and build on what they did this year, on the miracle year they had, and Texas A&M. Are they either going to prove that last year was just a fluke and they just needed one more piece to click right? Or is it showing that there's something going on that's causing more problems than we know about? So Alabama, LSU, and Texas A&M is who I'd be watching for next year. So that is the end of my video today, ladies and gentlemen. Please comment down in the comment section below what your favorite team you think will do the best next year and who might disappoint next year. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell to get more videos like this, and please like the video. Thank you. This is First Downs, Fourth Downs, and Touchdowns today. Have a great day.